1855. Two customers entered the Clay Street Boot Shop in San Francisco, run by Peter Lester and Mifflin Gibbs, two of San Francisco's successful black merchants. Upon their entry, these two men inflicted a beating on Peter Lester, leaving him near death. These white men left in knowledge that their victim had no hope under California law, that no black person could testify in court against a white man. After a decade of beatings, insults, and political legalized injustices, this prompted the black community of San Francisco to search for land that would give them equal opportunity and freedom. Some 600 to 800 black Californians would emigrate north to the British colony of Vancouver Island and to the goldfields on the Fraser River, in which is now British Columbia, Canada's westernmost province. The blacks would change the course of Canadian history by helping to preserve British Columbia to ensure that Canada would maintain its independence of the United States. It was 1858, and gold-hungry prospectors were pouring into the British colony of Vancouver Island and upsetting the status quo. Governor James Douglas had a bold plan, one he thought would benefit both black and the Victoria establishment and keep Vancouver Island safe for Britain. But things didn't turn out as expected.
What had happened sometime late in 1857 or early 58 was that gold had been discovered in the interior of British Columbia. It wasn't even called British Columbia yet. And the word got to Governor Douglas in Victoria, and he had a very good idea of what was going to happen. There would be a huge influx of prospectors and miners from the U.S. mostly, and this was almost a classic pattern by the 1850s, where Americans moved into Texas or into California, and the next thing you know, they own it. And Douglas did not want to see his colony suddenly taken over by an influx of American immigrants with nothing to balance them except a very small British and Canadian population and perhaps some of the local First Nations. So he was looking around for people who were not Americans, and the U.S. Supreme Court had actually made it easy for him because the Dred Scott decision just a year or so earlier had declared that even a free African American could not be a citizen. Well, when this news hit, and when it reached San Francisco in particular, it had quite an impact on the community.
There were 400 people in Victoria at the time, and 30,000 people passed through Victoria during that year. You imagine the changes that brought about there. And Douglas was concerned about the fact that many of these people, most of them as a matter of fact, were from the States. And he knew that there were many people in the United States who favored annexation of what is known today as British Columbia. So he was concerned, and he referred to them as the dregs of society. But he, as a business person, and this is one of his, I suppose, outstanding qualities, he insisted that they get licenses in Victoria. And that meant they had to stay in Victoria. And where would they get their supplies? From the Hudson's Bay Company. And so the Hudson's Bay Company made a great deal of money out of the supplies that they sold to the miners before they took off for the Fraser River and later the Caribou. So that was a pretty smart move. He also, later on, insisted that Victoria be a free port, and it meant that all the other towns in British Columbia, including New Westminster, had to charge duty on goods. But moving back to how he, in a sense, shaped British Columbia as we know it, he not only declared they had to get the licenses in Victoria, but he said that all the mining properties on the mainland, on the Fraser River and elsewhere, belonged to the British authorities, to the British Crown. And that immediately established the identity. He really didn't have the authority to do this, but later on, the British government approved of what he had done. he acted very decisively in this emergency. You can imagine with that number of people coming. And in a sense, to give him credit, you could say he saved British Columbia.
Senator Henry Clay